Okay, check this out. I wanna share with you guys this concept I've been working on, and I'm calling it reflections. Okay, and it goes like this. I wanted to find symmetrical reflections of, like, some basic, like, you know chord ideas or chord relationships. Okay, so it goes like this. Let's go to our favorite C major triad. Okay, your C, E, and G. When I'm talking reflections here, I'm talking about, is there a reflection, a symmetrical reflection of that chord if I pick a reflection point? So for example, for this C, E to G, if I wanted to find out, like, well, what's the reflection of that major third? So instead of going up a major third from the root, I'm going to go down a major third from the root. Okay? So the reflection of that tone is the same as, not the same as, but that's its reflection. That the major third is reflected by a major third below the root versus a major third above. Well, a reflection of this fifth above would be a fifth below. So for C major, I get this first very basic, like, reflection of a C major triad. And if we look at those, we see the reflective tones build a minor triad on the F. So this is kind of interesting. I mean, that's a very, the triads are very powerful sounding. When they're positioned together, they we hear them, we know what they are, but those don't really belong to a typical, major key, because of that flat six there. So it's kind of it creates for an interesting point of restlessness, against that C major triad. So I thought to myself, well, what if I look at the reflections? In this case, I used the root, or the bass voice, the lowest note, as the reflection point. Well, what if I start inverting this C major and use the same formula to figure out the reflections of those inversions? What do I get? What sounds do I get? So I started to look at the first inversion of C major is the 3 to the 5 to the root, right? The E, the G, the C. Well, if I apply the same logic, okay, and I go a minor third below, right? If we look at this shape, we've got E to G as a minor third going up. Well, I'd want to use a minor third going down. So just for illustration purposes here, I'm gonna start this reflection an octave above that E. So I'm gonna go E, and then, so there's the first reflection. I just went down a minor third, right? So up a minor third, up a perfect fourth. So down a minor third, down a perfect fourth. So there's is a reflection of. So let's look, what do we get when we look at that shape? When we play it, like this, you see that that's really just a D flat minor triad. See, there's the root, D flat. There's its minor third. There's the fifth. So that D flat is a mirror, or a reflection, if you will, of that first inversion starting on the E. And they both share that E. In one case we got, right? And you can hear it has a restless quality against that. It doesn't belong to the key at all. You know, like that's a minor half step above the C. You can bet there's a lot of tension there. But there's that common tone. So they kind of work with each other. They reflect, they're symmetrical. But it's interesting because it creates this it creates a departure. But there's a common tone between them. So they're like still related. Let's keep going. Let's look at so this is the second inversion. So we're playing in C. We got playing the fifth, the root, and the third, right? Let's do the same thing. We're gonna pivot off of this. I'm gonna voice it here so I can drop. Just gives me more room to drop. If I drop from here, I have to, and I could. I could go, right? But let's do it from here. You might be noticing something here, okay? Like that this shape and this shape, they're like 100 and the grip itself, they're 180 degrees, like they're just, you just turn them around, turn them upside down, and you get the mirror, the reflection. So what is that? So we got, looks to me like a G minor, root, 5, minor third. And those are the three basic voicings, but notice each inversion yielded its own distinct chord reflection. So what? You might be asking, so what? What do we do with this, right? Well, the way I see it is these are useful to understand, like as options that you can use as alternatives to your typical like very vanilla, very like routine mechanisms you may be using to kind of like embellish your bass lines. So let me give you a good example here. So we just found 3 minor chords, okay? We found an F minor over C. We found a D flat minor over C. And we found a G minor over C. Those are 3 chords that we can kind of use, or the tones within that, to kind of embellish our C major chord. Like we can pivot off of them to kind of create some interest. So for example, let's say we're playing like, like to me, there's nothing more predictable sounding than like a 2-5-1, that's like so obvious, like it's painful to me. Like maybe we can borrow some of these ideas to like reinvent, something like that. So for example, maybe it's like 2, 5, and maybe we split that maybe we go to that minor 2 before we go to the or maybe we go 2, 5, 1 as a a way to break apart these. Do you see how that F minor became just a way to kind of a pivot point, a point of reflecting, a way to like bounce and shimmer off of like an otherwise very like static sounding like resolution. So I hear these, I look at these reflections and I think these are opportunities like, to reinvent some of the ways in which we get to where we might be going. So in the case where we've got this like that C major chord is kind of like, if we think of that as like resolution and we forget about our traditional like models for setting up, subdominant, dominant, tonic, we can maybe substitute some of these reflections in as those subdominant, dominant kind of things that are less, less diatonic. And we get to, and what's interesting about it is we end up getting like a less like tonal quality about the music, Like this is a very tonal, that 5-1, that resolution. If I was to say, well, maybe I'll take that minor 5 and go to the minor 4 to the 1, that's like very different approach. It ends up having, it ends up fulfilling a similar function without the typical, without the typical like formulas. This flat 2 minor is totally unusual. Like what a beautiful sounding, what a nice alternative to a typical, dominant substitution, which would normally be like, here we do this minor. Totally just different, refreshing. So I want to explore this idea further, because I want to talk about its implications for bass players, or for any musicians for that matter, but how this can be used and how this might be applied to other ideas. I mean, I've just taken a very basic triad and shown you that there's these reflections, but when you start to see it this way, you start to recognize it doesn't really, ultimately we can take any idea, any phrase or idea and build a reflection off of it by using this application. I wanted to keep this really simple, and triads are just so great because they're just so strong sounding. They're great to contrast against. But yeah, check that out. Think of those reflections as sort of like, like alternate dominants and subdominants, that you can blend in. Anyways, I'll do a follow-up video on this, because I want to talk more. I've got a lot of ideas. I've been experimenting how to use this, but it's, there's really some interesting like possibilities from like obviously from an improvisation standpoint, from a compositional standpoint. There's just this opens up like new and inventive ways of like moving around. It's just a different perspective. It's a reflective perspective. How do you like that? Anyway, stay cool. Leave some comments. Tell me if you hate this. Tell me if you love this. Subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah, and stay cool.